welcome to my YouTube channel. This is part 2 of the exercise where I chose 10 dolls. If I could only keep 10 dolls, which 10 dolls would I choose? And I told you guys I had actually made a list of 20, and you overwhelmingly said yes, you want to see the other list of 10. So if you haven't watched the first video, it's directly before this one, so go back and watch that. Just as a recap, here are some of the rules. I cannot pick 2 of the same type of doll. So for example, there's already an American Girl on my other top 10 list, so there cannot be an American Girl on this list. The second thing is that these are not in any particular order. So these are all equally weighted. I just wrote them down as I kind of decided on them. So number 10 is not like more heavily weighted than number 1 or vice versa. They're just kind of, I'm just going to talk about them. And it's just an interesting thing to think about. Like, the reason that I did this exercise is kind of to examine my collecting habits, like what's important to me. And you also never know, you know, there may be an emergency situation in your life where you have to legitimately downsize your collection, or you may have to leave in a hurry if there's a natural disaster, or if you need to move to a smaller place, stuff like that. You know, it's good to kind of think about these things. You know, you hope none of that's, knock on wood, my chair, you hope none of that stuff ever comes to pass, but it doesn't hurt to have an emergency plan in mind either. So with that being said, I am going to go through the next 10 dolls on my list for you guys. So let's get into it. Number 10 on my list is this Nancy Famosa doll. Now, this doll is known as Nancy Capus because she has layers in her hair, and she is one of the first Nancys that I was able to get. I got her at Goodwill of all places, and I didn't know it at the time, but she is one of the more valuable, rare, hard to find Nancy Famosa dolls from the, I can't remember if it's 60s or 70s, I think it's early 70s with this doll, because of her layered hair. And what's crazy to think is at the time when I got her, I actually didn't like this hairstyle. I almost cut all her hair off and rerouted her because I think I paid $3 or $4 for her, something like that. And so I was like, oh, I'll just reroute her because I was really wanting a Nancy Famosa doll. So she is a Spanish playline doll. They still make her today. The modern ones look a little bit different. I have some videos from years ago, maybe like almost 10 years ago on my channel about this doll if you want to learn more about her. But she is one of my favorite all-time dolls, and she's the doll that ignited my passion for international playline dolls. So if you come to Modern Doll Collectors Convention, you know that every year I do an event about international playline dolls, because for me it's so interesting to learn about people and culture through what their childhood dolls are. And so it's just a real passion of mine. And this is the doll that kind of ignited that for me, because when I started learning about her, it made me realize, you know, we never saw her in the States. There's very few of them over here, and a lot of times when you find them, it's somebody has gone to Spain and they brought one back as a souvenir. And so that must have been the case with her. Or somebody from Spain moved here. Spain or Portugal is pretty much the only place they were sold. Sometimes in France too. France borders Spain. But I love her sweet face. I think she's so gorgeous, and she is one of my favorite types of dolls. Now, it was really hard to narrow down which Nancy Famosa I wanted, because I have some that are older than her, and I have some that are newer than her. Like they do re-editions with the same face that don't have the modern face. And I have like special memories with all of them, but I finally decided this one because at the time when I found her, I was wanting a Nancy Famosa so bad, and they were really hard to get here in the States, especially the older ones. And I just happened to be right place, right time, and found her. And she's just precious. My friend Diana, my dear friend Diana, who you'll hear about later on this list actually, she made this dress for me because I wanted something for her to wear to the Renaissance Festival. And this dress, Diana and I are actually friends because of Nancy Famosa, because at the time I was not on YouTube, but I was really actively writing a blog, and so I had written about her extensively on the blog. And at the time, and maybe still to this day, I may have the largest Nancy Famosa collection in the United States. I don't say that with 100% confidence, because there may be somebody out there, you know, who's a private collector who has a ton of Nancy's, but I have a lot of Nancy fashions, a lot of the older Nancy dolls, the vintage ones. I have a lot of the newer ones. So I really just love Nancy Famosa. So it was really hard to choose which one, but I decided in the end, this is the one that I would have to take if I could only keep one of them, because this doll is just, it's so fascinating. I just love her so much, and just look at her face. She's just so sweet. I could talk about her for hours, but I won't. We'll keep it at that. But she is one that I would keep if I were going to be keeping 10 more. All right, we're on number 9, and I've changed I changed my mind in real time just now, because I had on my list, I had my tan Phoebe from Nikki Britt. I love this doll. I think there's only 4 tan Phoebes in the world. Nikki Britt is one of my favorite artists, and I just love this doll so much. And I got her, like I had commissioned her from Nikki. She allowed me to buy her. She's a very coveted doll, and so I was very excited to get her. But when I went and opened my cabinet to bring her out for the video, I changed my mind last minute. I think the one, if it really came down to it, I would keep my Wendy Weird as, she's done as Harry Potter. And the reason is, when I really think about it, and this doll is not as rare, and that's the thing about this list, some of the dolls so I have dolls in my collection that are way more rare and valuable than actually the top 10s that I've done here. But it's not about the value, like the financial value to me. It's about like the emotional connection and how much I actually really like. I mean, I really like all my dolls. Let me just say that. But, you know, it's about the emotional connection to the doll. So when I saw Wendy Weird, aka Harry Potter, sitting there, I was like, you know what? I have to take him, because I fell in love first with the Wendy Weird face, and that is, I think, to this day my favorite sculpt of Nikki's. I do have a smaller version. I'm just going to grab and show you. So we were kind of talking about like if I couldn't, like if space was a serious issue, I could take the smaller one. So I have the little small one, but this sculpt is just so magical to me. I really, really, really love it. And so I changed my mind. I have Phoebe written down on my list, so I wanted to show her to you, but at the end of the day, it would be this guy. And he came from IDTS when they were still doing it in Asheville. And I think my friend Diana actually picked him up for me at IDTS in Asheville, because we were out of town and weren't able to go. I wasn't able to go to that show with her that year. But he is one of her 18-inch dolls, and he can wear 18-inch clothes. They're a little big on him, but I just love the face. I love the sculpt of the face so much. Nikki has really magical face sculpts. Like I said, she's one of my favorite artists. I really like her dolls. But the nice thing about this is, because they are around that 18-inch size, you know, I could change wigs, I could change eyes, I could change clothes. So this would be highly customizable. Like the Nancy I showed you before, there's no hair changing, no eye changing there. Clothes, yes, but with this, it could be a lot more versatile, and I could get a lot of looks out of him, and then I could make him a her, and then I could do, you know, some girly looks. So all kinds of different things with this doll. But this is the facial sculpt. And in 2014, I want to say 2014, 2015 is when I fell in love with her dolls. Maybe as late as 2016, but I feel like it was 2014. And, you know, it's just been love ever since. And so one of her dolls had to make the list, and it was like, really, I opened my cabinet and I'm looking and I'm like, you know, Phoebe is what I wrote down, but like I'm really drawn to Harry instead of Phoebe when it actually came down to it. So yeah, sometimes that might happen. If you go through this exercise yourself, it's really interesting, because it really does make you consider, you know, because I'm not considering like what would be the easiest to replace if I wanted to replace it later, because this doll would be easier to replace than the Phoebe. This is like, let's pretend there is no replacement. Like what are you going to keep? What are you going to keep? So this would be the one of her dolls that I would keep. Number 8 on my list, and keeping with my early days of BJD's vibes, would be my Berdine Created Lola. This is actually my very first BJD. So the story with this doll is, if you haven't heard it before, is that I went to IDS in Asheville the very first year they had it, which was 2014. And Berdine Created was there. And I saw this doll's face. Her wig is acting up on me, and I'm sorry about that. I saw this doll's face and I fell absolutely in love with her. I was smitten. She was $565, I think, and I had never spent that kind of money on a doll before. The most I had spent on a doll was probably on a Robert Toner doll, which at the time were around, I want to say $150, $160. So $565 was out of the realm of even thought and possibility for me at the time. But at that time, I had just recently changed careers. I was not a teacher anymore. And I went home and I sat on it and I thought about this doll for 2 weeks straight, and I couldn't get her out of my head. And I said, you know what? I'm going to email Berdine and I'm going to see if she has any of them left. And I did, and she did. And she sent me a picture and she said, these are the ones that are left. You can choose one that you want. And I chose this one, and it was ever since then, this is the doll right here that ignited my love for ball jointed dolls, because I realized, and that's why I'm an artist doll collector primarily too. So a lot of people get into BJDs through Minifee or through, Volks and stuff like that. I got into ball jointed dolls immediately from artist dolls because that's what I was first introduced to. And I just loved how unique the faces were. And that's something that's really cool about resin. Vinyl dolls are really expensive to make, which is primarily what I had up until this point, were vinyl dolls. They're very cheap per item, but per unit, but you have to order so many of them and the molds cost so much money. You have to be pretty big in the doll space to be able to make vinyl or ABS dolls. So the cool thing about resin is it allowed individual artists to do sculpting and make faces, and they could be cast, a little bit. They're more expensive per unit, but the cost of the molds and the labor and stuff like that still made it, possible for collectors to purchase these dolls. And so I was just so thrilled when she had one left and she mailed her to me. And I just, ever since then, it's been a lot of ball jointed dolls since then, but she was the very first one, and I think she deserves a real place of honor among my collection of dolls, because it just unlocked, not just, kind of like I talked about in the other video, not just like this wonderful world of collecting for me, but this wonderful world of friendships and meeting doll artists and kind of having those connections with people that I otherwise wouldn't have, because as much as I like American Girl, Pleasant Rowland doesn't make public appearances. You're not going to be able to become friends with her. You're not going to be able to really have any kind of personal relationship with her. Where with the doll artists, you can meet them at shows and talk to them. And in a lot of cases, I've become very good friends with some of them. And so I think that's what's really unique about artist BJDs as compared to a lot of the other dolls that are out there in the market. But anyway, she is on the list. I would have to fix, I have to set her wig somehow. I've got a little bit of like putty on her head, but it's probably so old it's lost its tackiness. But anyway, so she is on the list because of how important she is to me, just how much I love her, and then how important she is to me, like in the history of my collecting journey. Okay, next on my list is my House of Babes Willow doll. Now, she is the first doll that George came out with, and I have a lot of his dolls, and so this was another hard decision because I only allow myself one. But there's something really special about this doll. First of all, I mean, besides the fact that she is exquisite, you guys, like absolutely exquisite, I got to pick her up in person from the artist, meet him, talk to him about his doll, and just really, that is such a special experience. And that's what makes this particular doll the most special of his dolls to me, is it reminds me of that great trip to New York when I also met Pasha, when I was there interviewing her, and then they're friends and he was there, and I picked up this doll, and it was just, I have an unboxing here on the channel for her, like unboxing her in Pasha's studio, and I was just really excited to receive her. I think she's such a beautiful doll, and all of his dolls are really gorgeous, so it was really difficult to choose. But I think he's such an amazing artist, and he's such a special person, and you know, I still, every time I talk about his dolls, I have to throw in there, I still tell him, if you want to do an interview, let's do an interview one day. But I just really adore her. She has a purple wig, actually, that she wears, and I do not know where it is at the moment. I think I've misplaced it. So she borrowed a wig from one of her sisters for this video. But I love her in her purple wig, but she looks really pretty in this one too. But she's just a gorgeous, like, premium fashion doll. She's got all the, you know, she's got these incredible joints. She's hypermobile. You can do all these great poses with her. And that's one thing I really like about her. And just, again, you know, the emotional attachment of going on that trip, meeting him, you know, talking to him about his process, like, and it's his very first doll. And like, for a very first doll, how incredible is she? She's just amazing. And so I was just really blown away with her, and just really happy to be one of the first. I probably wasn't the very first, but I was one of the first collectors to actually get one of his dolls. And now he does different body types. He's got this really thick body that I love. I have a couple of those. He's done a baby. He's done a male doll, which I don't have one of those, but his work is so outstanding, and I just really enjoyed, you know, it just felt good to be one of the first people to support his art, I guess. I really enjoy supporting artists. And especially, like I've said, when they're such nice people and you get to meet them and just, they deserve all the success in the world, and you know it. So that is why I'm so emotionally attached to this doll, and that's why she would be coming with me in my top 10, because I knew I had to pick one of his dolls because I just love him as a person. And then I was like, you know what, I think I have to take the first one. The first one's going to be the one that's on the list. So that is House of Babes Willow. She is the first doll that House of Babes came out with. Next on my list had to be a Robert Toner doll. And this was, I sound like I keep saying the same thing. This was incredibly difficult to decide which Toner doll. But ultimately, I decided on my very first one. So Prudence was my very first Toner doll. And let me tell you the story behind her. I went to my friend Diana's house. I told you you'd hear about her again. I went to my friend Diana's house one day, and I was looking through all her dolls, and she had, I think it was Wigged Out 2 Prudence in her doll shelf. And I'm like, who is that doll? And she told me the story of Elwyn and Prudence and Toner and all this stuff. And I became so obsessed with her. This is the first expensive doll that I ever got. So when I was talking about earlier, you know, when I had seen the Lola by Berdine Created, she was $500 something. And up until that point, this is about the most expensive doll that I had in my collection. But I fell in love with Prudence's face, and don't tell anybody, or don't tell Elwyn, but I like Prudence better than Elwyn. She's actually, I just love her face sculpt so much. There's something about it that just really speaks to me. I'm also a team inset eyes. I did order the Nemo with inset eyes. She was shipped a couple days ago, so there will be an unboxing of that. So maybe when I get her, I'll change my mind and she'll be the one. But this Prudence, I'm going to tell you, like, I thought about her for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I kind of put aside a little bit of money every week so that I could buy her. And I finally did. Like, I finally hit my goal, and I like ordered her, and she was left over from one of the Toner events. I think she's Tea Party something Prudence. I can't remember her actual name, but I just think she's so gorgeous. To this day, she's my profile picture in PayPal. So if you ever pay me, she's actually my PayPal profile picture, which is very interesting. Like, when I first started taking photographs of dolls, she really inspired me. We went out and took pictures of her with all the cherry blossoms and the red buds, and it was just such, she was so inspiring to me, so beautiful, and she was just really special to me because up to that point, I don't think I'd ever had a real collector's doll before because I was only collecting Playline. And so this was another important formative doll in my collection. Now I thought really hard about, I've got an Elowen with inset eyes that I got from the Gone with the Wind event that they had in Atlanta. That was the first big doll event I really went to. I'd been to doll shows, but the Toner Gone with the Wind event in Atlanta, that's the first doll event I ever went to, and that was super cool to me. My friend Henny went with me. She's a huge Gone with the Wind fan, and she got the I gave her the Scarlet doll, and I bought the Elowen. I think she's called Over the Top. So I thought hard about her because that's a really good memory with one of my best friends that we went and did something, and like, it was very cool for me. But when it came down to it, when it was between her and Prudence, I just, you know, Prudence is just such an important part of my collection for the reasons I've stated. I also thought really hard about my first Grace doll because that kind of started my, you know, that's how I kind of got to know Rachel and started my, you know, relationship there with Virtual Doll Convention. And like, you know, she's bringing so many more dolls to us collectors. Like I said, I ordered a Nima and she'll be here soon. So that's really exciting too. But, you know, when I really, really had to just whittle it down to one, this is the one. And I really, really adore her. And it's funny because she's not wigged, and I would prefer wigged, but she does have the beautiful green, look at those beautiful green inset eyes. And I just, again, love her face sculpt. I think Prudence has the sweetest face. So Rachel, if you ever see this, would love to have Prudence back. So anyway, and Amber. I never got an Amber, so that would be cool to have. But anyway, that is, I don't remember what number we're on, but she's one of the keepers on the list, Prudence. We're up to number 5. I checked the list to see what number we're on. And my next doll on the list is my Bella Spring by Tatiana Tofanetto. So are you ready for the long, sappy story? Because here it comes. So I first met Tatiana in Orlando when they had moved IDTS down to Orlando, and I saw her doll, Laura. And I didn't buy her at the time because she was, again, it was a more expensive ball jointed doll. She was a fashion doll. And at that time, I had not collected any fashion ball jointed dolls. And I saw her, and it was another one I couldn't stop thinking about her. I ended up buying her a little bit later. That kind of started my relationship with Tatiana, and I started buying her dolls. And then, as the years went on, I started collecting porcelain BJDs. And she has always, sorry about that, I kicked the camera. She has always made porcelain BJDs, but I just had never bought one. And when she announced this Bella Spring, I knew that was the one. Like, I knew I had wanted to get one of hers. She's done some beautiful ones, but I just wasn't sure which one yet. But when she showed this doll, I knew. I was actually in Costa Rica when I saw it. We were at our house in Costa Rica, and I messaged her. I might have thought about it for a day, but I probably didn't. I messaged her as soon as I saw it, and I'm like, hey, I really would like to reserve one of these. And not only that, but she was like, well, look, I'm coming back to Orlando if you're going to be there. And it was just incredible. So we worked it out. I met her in Orlando. She came to our hotel, and I got to do an interview with her. I got to see her in person and talk to her a little bit more, because the first time at that doll show, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you could talk to an artist for a little bit, but it's not like, I had so many booths, and I was filming the booths and talking to a lot of people. And so I didn't really get like a one-on-one chance to really talk to her at length. And so I was able to interview her, which is something I really wanted to do. She brought my doll. I got to open her with her present. Like, that's always so much fun to open it. I think it makes the artist nervous. Like, that's one thing I've noticed. Like, the artists seem to be a little bit nervous. I like everything though. Like, I'm never gonna open a doll and not like it. I mean, it's just, that's not my nature, right? I'm not gonna buy a doll in advance that I know when I open it I'm gonna dislike. But I just love porcelain dolls for the reasons I talked about it in my other video, but the artist, you know, they make everything. She's, you know, cast every piece in porcelain. She's painted it. And one of the good things about porcelain is the paint doesn't scratch. Like, it is baked on there. It's cured. I don't know if cured's the right word, but it's baked. You know, if it's fired, they fire it in a kiln and it is on there. And so porcelain is just such an exquisite medium to have dolls in. And then this dress is silk, hand painted. To resemble, I can't remember the name of the tree, but the yellow flowers on the tree that fall there in Brazil in her yard. And so everything about this doll was just so special to me. And getting to see her, like I said, I had briefly met her before at that show, but really getting to have some one-on-one time with her and interview her, and her dolls are just so exceptionally beautiful. And it's just such a dream come true when you get to really spend time with one of your favorite artists like that. And I just love this doll. She actually stands on the shelf right beside my work desk. So when I'm at home working, which is most of the time, I see her. Like, she's in my line of sight at all times. So that's a very special place where I put dolls. I don't put, you know, like Kirsten's not there. I put very special dolls in that place because when I'm working and I like to look up and see certain dolls, she's one of the ones that's on that special. It's a very special shelf, I like to think. So she's one that's definitely on the list, just because, again, there's a big emotional connection there, but also this doll is just an exquisite art piece. So out of my top 20 now, you know, I've got some dolls that are really playable. You can really play with them and do a lot of stuff with. I've got some dolls that are just super duper sentimental, you know. They might not be super playable, but they're really sentimental. This one is just a gorgeous, gorgeous art piece that has that bit of sentimentality to it, because I got to see Tatiana. She brought the doll from Brazil. We met at Disney World, you know. It was just such a cool experience overall. So she is on my list of top 10, and she was almost on the list from the previous video. That was a really hard choice, but she's just so gorgeous. Just a gorgeous art piece. Number 4 on the list, I had to choose a Blythe, and this was an incredibly difficult decision, because I have so many gorgeous, they're kind of in a mess right now, but I have so many gorgeous Blythe dolls from talented artists, talented Blythe customizers. And so when I really thought about it, I was like, you know, I think that if I had to pick one Blythe, I would probably just take the first Blythe that I got, which is Disco Boogie. So this is Disco Boogie Blythe, and she was a gift from my friend Diana. She gifted her to me, I think, for my birthday one year, and it had been a rough year, and she was like, I know you've always wanted a Blythe doll, and she gave me this doll, and it was so exciting because I really had always wanted one, didn't have one, and so she kind of ignited my love from Blythe from that point on. And if you go back and watch some of my early Blythe videos, like I have a couple that are like I have one that's Learn About Blythe with me, and this was the only Blythe I had at the time, because I was trying to do my research at that time and see, because I didn't know much about Blythe other than that I wanted one. Sometimes that's the thing, right? You don't know much about something other than I just want one. But I got to really know Blythe through this doll. Like, she helped me learn all about Blythe, and she's just such a sweet doll, and I really, you know, look at her pink eyes. I love this, what do they call it, stock? Disco Boogie is one of my, I feel like she might be one of the harder ones to customize. I know there's like varying degrees of customization, like there's certain Blythe iterations that customizers have an easier time like carving and stuff like that, and I feel like she might be one of the harder ones to customize, but I always thought I'd like to get a custom Disco Boogie at some point, just to kind of like, you know, have the original, like the original Blythe that I ever had. Her hair is all in her face, but have the original Blythe that I ever had, plus have like a custom Disco Boogie. So I always kind of thought that would be fun, but she's really special to me because, like I said, she is that first Blythe doll that I ever got, and I was able to really play with her and kind of be like, yeah, I really do like Blythe. And not just like Blythe, but I love Blythe. And I love going to Blythe events. Blythe events are so much fun. You will not see more creative clothing and accessories at any doll show than you will a Blythe show. People that create for Blythe are so creative. That wasn't a very creative word to use, was it? But people that create for Blythe are so talented. Their talent is just out of this world, the way that they are able to just come up with stuff. Like this is a dress I got, I want to say BlytheCon UK, which is in Liverpool in October this year. I wish I could go. I'm going to London in July though, so I can't really do 2 trips to England at the same time, or to the UK in the same year, because of the time away from work and stuff like that. But anyway, she's just so fun. So she's wearing did I say this dress is by Magical Night? Rhiannon, I think is her name. And I got her and I just love this dress on her too. I took her to Ren Fair in this outfit, actually. I've mentioned Ren Fair before. I really like Ren Fair, the Renaissance Fair. Although I haven't been in the last 2 years because it's been so crowded. It's a little much. But I might try to brave it again this year. We'll see. But anyway, yep, she's on the list because I had to choose a Blythe. It was really difficult to choose which one, but I decided just to go with my first one. When in doubt, go with the first one you ever had, because there's always something special about the very first doll in a line that you get, because I think if you get that doll and you buy another one, that kind of shows you that first doll, you really fell in love with that first doll and you want more of that. And so I feel like, because, have you ever bought a doll and you weren't really in love with it and you didn't go buy a bunch more? That's probably not. But if you get a doll like this and you fall in love with her so much you buy a bunch more, I think that's telling you something, right? That you really fell in love with that very first one. So she's really special, and that's why she would be on my keeper list. Next on my list is my gal Ife from Nothing Sapiens. Now this doll I bought during COVID, and I think it was during COVID, yeah. And I just fell in love with her. I fell in love with the artists. I have a whole shelf of their dolls now. I've got another one on the way, a full set, and I am genuinely, seriously considering going to Dolly Day Barcelona this year so that I can meet them. And I've always wanted to go to that show, but that's a big selling point for me, is that they're going to be there and I can actually meet them in person, because I think they create the most unique full set dolls and fashions that are out there. They're very futuristic. They're just incredible. And this is the one that started kind of started me down the path of collecting their dolls. So I have almost all their sculpts. I don't have a little tardigrade, and there is one of their alien sculpts I'm missing. I can't remember the name, and I don't have their very, very early dolls. But if you follow them on Instagram, I do have one of their cyborg dolls, which I believe they've quit making them, so I'm really happy I was able to get one of those. But I just really adore their artwork. I think they're incredibly talented artists, and I actually don't change her much, because I feel like her full set is just so... It's just so cool. Like, it's so futuristic and it's so cool. Like, I just haven't ever really, just look at the detail in everything they do. And I remember when I opened her, I think the interest was so high that they did open a pre-order for her. I think they posted on Instagram, like, due to the interest after my unboxing video, they opened a pre-order so other people could order her, and I know a few other people did get her, and she's just such an incredible sculpt. She's such an incredible sculpt. So I think she's so beautiful. I think their work is so outstanding, and they're super nice people. So like when I'm really bad at email. I get really behind on my emails, and there had been this doll I wanted to order, and they had emailed about it and I missed it, and like I hadn't been online a lot. And you know how Instagram doesn't always show you the people you follow? I've learned a trick. You have to go up and click like following, but I've only learned that in like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like I didn't know that for a while. But anyway, I hadn't seen the post, and they actually messaged me to let me know like this doll was coming up for order because I had mentioned that I wanted it. And so like that's the kind of people that they are. Like, they're very nice, and like they remember your preferences, they remember the things about you. Like, that's great customer service, basically. Great customer service from these artists, which is what it really is. But it just shows also that they're very nice people, like, because they're very aware of what their collectors want, and they try to deliver that, and I think they do deliver it. And she's just such a gorgeous doll, and I cannot wait to get my new full set from them. If you follow their Instagram, they have posted some of the full sets have already gone. My doll was a different resin tone, so I think they're working through each resin tone one by one maybe and doing the full sets. So hopefully you guys will see that soon here. Not sure when, but yeah, she's got to come. Like, this one was actually, I love all of their dolls that I have from them, but this one wasn't as hard of a choice because, like, this doll is just so special. Like, you know, got her during COVID. Times were kind of, you know, then, and so this was one of the big highlights of that time. I bought a lot of dolls in 2020 just because there was nothing else to do, and this was one of the big highlights of that. It was just such an exciting doll to receive. So that is why she is on the list. Next on the list, number 2 is, her name is Big Doll. I can't remember if she's been here on the channel much before, but this doll was around before I was even born. So my grandma worked at a department store called King's, and they used these as models for toddler clothes. And when the store was closing, they sold my grandma this doll for like $1 or $2. She is a Cameo Kewpie. They did a re-edition of this size like in the early 80s, but this is one of the original ones. So you can see on her back, there's the Cameo, and I still to this day collect Kewpie dolls. Now I still to this day, I don't actively buy them, but like, there's definitely inspiration for these dolls and other dolls that you see, and I do still have quite a collection of them. But she was my playmate when I was a little kid. She was the same size as me, and I have so many fun stories of me and my grandma. We would take her to yard sales and stuff with us because I would want to buy her new clothes. We took her to was it Kmart? I think it was Kmart one time, and I was laying on the floor with her trying shoes on in the shoe department, and a lady came over, and she had thought she was a real kid for a split second, and I was a kid with a kid, and it was a really funny moment like between us. She said, "I thought you had a real baby on the floor trying I was about to tell your grandma." And like, no, you know, I was trying to find shoes for my doll because it was like a little black patent pair of Mary Jane's that I wanted for her. But so I have a lot of really, really sentimental feelings about this doll, because she was at my grandma's for a long time, and then as I got older, I brought her home. So she was like a doll that I only played with at grandma's house. If you guys ever had one of those, and it's like kind of, my Christy doll was like that. My Christy doll was at my other grandma's house. This was my dad's mom. My Christy doll was at my mom's house for years and years and years, and I never brought her home until I was an adult, right? And then the same thing with Big Doll. Big Doll was at my grandma's house, and she was just a special doll that I only got to play with when I went to visit grandma. And, you know, we just did so many fun things with her. And I have pictures that I took of her when I was probably 10 years old. So even at that time, like, I enjoyed photographing my dolls. Like, so I have photographs of her, and just, you know, I really, really, you know, she's a big part of my childhood, and just a really special doll for me. And, you know, I love her. I just really do. Now, she's huge. So, you know, if I had to, kind of like my Small World boy, you know, her size might make her an impractical choice to take if I'm trying to downsize for whatever reason, but she's one I would definitely attempt very hard to keep with me. So just because she's just so special. She's wearing, actually, I beaded this necklace and made this guitar pick necklace when I was probably 11 or 12. So you can see what kind of kid I was, basically. Yeah, I was like really into into rock at that time. I mean, I still like music, rock music, but you know, I just thought that was cool when I was a kid. So anyway, yeah, this is Big Doll, and she would be on that list, just because of all, again, very sentimental memories with her. Number 1 on the list is Dreamtime Barbie. Now, it was funny when I made the first video, and I was like, you know, Barbie didn't make my list. And then I thought, which Barbie would it be? So the main Barbies that I remember from my childhood are this Dreamtime Barbie. I remember a lot of them actually, but some of the memories are a little bit stronger and more emotional and impactful than others. This is one of those Peaches and Cream Barbie, Western Stampin' Tara Lynn, and then Masquerade Ball Barbie from Bob Mackie. So I had to think about it really hard, and I was like, remember when I said earlier, like if you can't decide, like go with the first one. So that's what I did. So this is Dreamtime Barbie, and the date on her box is 1984, and let me tell you the story behind her. So this is the actual one that I had when I was a kid. So this is the one, this is like mine with her nightgown still. I don't have her other stuff anymore, but I do still have her nightgown, and she's miraculously, no, she's not. I had some little nibbles on her feet, you know, because I don't know why was chewing on Barbie's feet such a thing. And I know I did it because I remember doing it. I chewed on her fingers a little bit too. Little Allison, why did you do that? Anyway, but the thing with her is, this is the first Barbie that I ever had. Or it's the first Barbie that I remember having. So here set the scene. Okay, we were living in a trailer. We had moved away from where my mom and dad were from and met and all that, and we had moved to South Carolina. I was born in North Carolina. We moved to South Carolina, and my brother had just been born. Now, my grandparents had come to visit. My mom's parents had come to visit because the new baby had been born, but they had this habit of always bringing me a little treat. So my grandpa had told me to look in the suitcase. I remember this, okay? I was 3 years old. I remember this. My grandpa told me to look in the suitcase, and I looked in the suitcase, and I saw this box sitting there. And that memory, that's why I bought the doll in the box, because that memory is so vivid to me. Like opening their suitcase and looking inside, and this Barbie being in there with her pink teddy bear and her purple gown, and I was so excited because I knew she was a doll for me. And so it was just, it's my first memory of Barbie. It may be my first memory of a doll, period, because it was when my brother was born. So I would have been three and a half years old. I was when he was born, and it was right when he was born because they came to visit to see the new baby. And this was in the suitcase. And so she, you know, was a very well-loved Barbie of mine. You can see that. And it's crazy that I still have her, because I had a bag that I kept all my Barbies in over the years. And like I said, she doesn't have her ring. Did she have? Yeah, she had a little like a little one of those little diamond rings like all the dolls had in the 80s. I don't have any of her jewelry or anything. I don't have the bear. But I wanted to get the one in the box because that memory is just so strong for me. But the one I would keep would be my actual one, complete with my dental impressions on her feet and hands. What in the world? I remember, that's the worst part. I remember doing it. Like, I don't know, it's like a texture thing. It's just satisfying just to chew on it when I was a kid. Like, now I have other, like, I'll twist my hair and do other little things. Like, I guess it's a self-soothing thing. I don't know, but yeah. So anyway, I did chew on her, but she's still, even with the dental impressions, she's still in, you know, decent shape, I'll say. So she would be the one Barbie that I would keep if I could only, you know, keep one Barbie. But the others that I mentioned would also be towards the top of the list if for some reason she was inaccessible to me. But yeah, it's just a cool story for me. Like just a very vivid memory, let's say that. A very vivid memory of opening the suitcase and like, wow, there's a doll for me here, because having a new baby brother is kind of intense. I don't know if you guys have ever been through it, but it's a little bit intense. So a new Barbie definitely helps with some of that intensity. So she is number 1 on this list. I hope you guys enjoyed this final list of 10 dolls that I would, if I had to absolutely downsize, what I would keep. I have a good mix, I feel like, of ball jointed dolls, of pure artist dolls, of vinyl dolls, playline dolls, dolls that are important to me from my childhood. Now, I really hope that this never comes to pass, obviously. I hope that I'm able to keep my room and all my dolls and everything inside. And from time to time, I do have to kind of rotate some things out, and I'll sell some things. But generally, the things that I sell, I don't have as strong. Like, I have good memories attached to most things, but like, they're not super strong memories. We'll just be like, oh, I loved this story about this doll at Modern Doll. But like, some of these dolls I have really strong emotional attachments to, as you've heard from my stories. So, and there's other dolls that I have really strong emotional attachments to. So this is just a good exercise to kind of examine like what in your collection is important to you and why it's important, and where do you emphasize value. And value for me is in the emotional attachment. So like I said, a lot of my dolls are much more financially, like my Barbie that I dined upon. She is not nearly as valuable. She's probably the least valuable doll in this whole roundup, but she's very special to me for the reasons that I mentioned. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. I know you guys enjoyed the first video. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons from Patreon: Lindsay S., Leah W., Doreen Z., Janice H., Mercedes W., Bear Sunflower, Diane B., Shorna R., Stephanie W., Shalane C., Louisa's Knickknacks, Marty G., Lynn P., Cindy L., and Sabrina A. Your support helps me continue making great dolly content. For more information on how you can become a supporter of this channel, please see the link in the video description. Thank you.